appreciate you joining us for our afternoon briefing from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management Office. We have a couple of speakers who will be available for all of you this afternoon, along with some information and updates. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions using the Raise My Hand feature. And at this time, I will turn it over to Hannah Sanborn, Emergency Management Planning Coordinator for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management Office.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Corey. I'm Hannah Sanborn with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management. So today we have several speakers that are going to update you on the flooding conditions here in Mecklenburg County. We'll start with Chief Robert Graham with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management to give an update on Emergency Operations Center activities. I will talk about communications to the public. We have Chief Johnson with Charlotte Fire to talk about Charlotte Fire operations, and then Tim Chapman with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Stormwater Services to give you an update as well. And then afterwards, we'll open it up for questions. So to start, Chief Graham.
Good afternoon, everybody. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Operations Center is activated and monitoring the weather conditions across Mecklenburg County. The National Weather Service issued a flood warning for our area until 3 p.m. today. However, it is important to know that flooded roadways will continue to remain dangerous. Do not attempt to drive through floodwaters, and we always tell everybody that, but it's exceptionally important. And I personally witnessed several this morning on Interstate 85 doing exactly that. And so wait, if you're in a position where you can't get around it, wait until emergency responders are on scene and they will mitigate the situation and get you through safely. But have patience. It's always important to have patience. And we tell everybody, turn around, don't drown. And so that is a snap of the finger thing where you get in a position where you're in a life-ending situation. And so we don't want that to happen to anybody. And unfortunately, across our region, across the state, it does continue to happen, and it's a senseless incident. So we want to try to mitigate that as much as possible. Your car can be carried away in as few as 6 inches of water. And we tell everybody that, and it is true. If you need to report a blocked roadway, you can do so by calling 311. If you're in an emergency situation, of course, as always, call 911. The Emergency Operations Center is staffed by members of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management, Charlotte Fire Department, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Stormwater Services, CATS, our transportation folks, our CDOT, Charlotte DOT, and other partners, including Atrium and Novant. They're all here, GIS, lots of folks are here, and we do that so that we increase our ability to communicate, share resources, have situational understanding, and mitigate gaps that exist during times when we enter into emergencies or potential emergencies. We are closely monitored from the Riverside Drive area and are expecting flooding in that area. As you recall, in 2019, we had a serious flood situation down there, and we're working closely with the National Weather Service as well as Duke Energy, one, to maintain situational awareness, two, to make sure that we're letting everybody know down there what's going on, and then three, if we have to take kinetic type activities where we're actually involved, boots on the ground, that we're able to do that quickly. We urge residents to remain alert. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management Office assisted Atrium with flooding this morning in and around the main campus. And as always, and I talked about this earlier, communications and resource sharing are key. Our shelter planning is underway in the event of evacuations are necessary. We have a robust group of folks, including the American Red Cross, here in the Emergency Operations Center and our emergency management coordinators working on that plan. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Hannah Sanborn, our Planning and Public Affairs Coordinator. Hannah?
Hello again. So just want to go over a couple of different types of communication that the public can expect to receive from us with this incident. So as many of you are aware, you are getting emergency alerts to your phone. Those are wireless emergency alerts that are actually coming from the National Weather Service. So those will be pushing any flash flood emergency warnings to your cell phones directly. That does not come from us, it comes from the National Weather Service, but it's very important to stay tuned to that information. The latest push was that our flash flood warning here is in effect until 3 p.m. Then in addition to that, our office will be pushing information through the SHARMEC Alerts system. So if you are not registered for SHARMEC Alerts, it is an opt-in system, and you can register at www.sharmecalerts.org to receive emergency communication via text message, phone calls, and emails. So we will continue to use that system to notify the public. And if there is an imminent threat, we will also be able to use wireless emergency alerts, as the National Weather Service does as well, if necessary. And so we just really urge residents to stay alert, stay aware. Even once the rainfall has finished, that does not mean that the danger is gone, especially as it gets into darker hours in the evening. It's going to be harder to see flooded roadways, things like that. So please stay tuned to the National Weather Service. Stay tuned to our social media feeds as well. We'll be sharing information there. And then I have a quick update on behalf of the City of Charlotte's solid waste. Because of the heavy rains and significant flooding in our area, that has had an impact on solid waste collection. And they ask that you understand there may be some delays in collection of garbage, recycling, yard waste, and bulky items. Please place materials at the curb and leave it until collected. And if you have any questions, they can be directed to curbit@charlottenc.gov. That's CURBIT@charlottenc.gov. At this time, I'll pass this off to Chief Johnson to talk about Charlotte Fire Department operations.
Good afternoon. As you heard from Chief Graham, we have had a significant number of city and county employees that are responding to this weather emergency. I'd like to take this time to just truly acknowledge the men and women of the Charlotte Fire Department, alarm, as well as emergency management. We have responded to over 112 flood incidents since approximately 7:30 this morning. That's in addition to our normal call volume that we would see during that time. As of 11 a.m. this morning, we've coordinated with CDOT and CMPD and had 63 roads closed. We evacuated and rescued 143 people from the Corvian Charter School. This included students and staff. We were assisted by CATS, so we appreciate that partnership. We have responded to a number of vehicles trapped in floodwaters and rescued approximately 12 from those stranded vehicles. Again, turn around, don't drown. We encourage people not to drive through flooded roadways. We've also evacuated 8 persons from the vicinity of Spruce Street and West Boulevard, 2 more people from the 10,000 block of John Price Road, and 13 were rescued from the 9600 block of McDaniel Lane. Chief Graham also mentioned Riverside Drive. We have firefighters going door to door there and assisting with notifications, and we'll stand by if necessary to provide services there. So that is the Charlotte Fire Department update. I will now turn it over to Chief Estes for any CMPD operations updates.
Thank you, Chief. From CPD's perspective, we're out full force assisting our firefighter partners in ensuring that the roadways are safe, and will provide traffic control and directions all across our jurisdiction. But I had anything to reiterate is that ensure that if you come across standing water, that you not drive through it. And if you know anyone that's shut in or person who may need some help or assistance, make sure that you just check out how they're doing and reach out to them. And if there's any assistance you can offer them, we encourage that you do so. Also, we want to make sure that you people who are out and about who may be directed for an area or away from an area by a firefighter or police officer, make sure they adhere to that to keep safety first and ensure that the public is safe through this last instance. Lastly, I'd like to plug the outstanding work that's done here by the Emergency Management Office and all the professional partners that have come together to ensure public safety is done at its finest. Thank you. Hannah?
At this time, we will turn it over to Stormwater Services for any updates. So Tim Chapman from Stormwater Services.
Thank you, Hannah. Just have a few quick notes from Stormwater Services, who's been part of the team monitoring our creek systems and all of the things that are going on. We've received between 3.5 and 4.5 inches of rain countywide in this event. The creeks everywhere either have gotten out of their banks or are currently out of their banks, which is expected. What's unique about this specific event is that it's really happened countywide. We have had larger rainfall totals the past 30 or 40 years, but we haven't had this type of rain throughout the entire county. So about everywhere that you live or drive has been impacted by this rain that's moved through. I'm sure that you have seen flooded parks and yards. Those things are to be expected. We expect the creeks to get out of their banks, and actually it's a good thing that those parks and backyards are storing floodwater instead of them being in buildings. As the water recedes, what we ask is that if you see severe erosion that has happened, again, once the water has receded and it's safe to take a look, or if you see pipe systems that have failed and sinkholes, to report them to 311 in the coming days, and we will get out and take a look at them. We have, although we probably do have some buildings and homes and businesses that have flooded, we have not seen at this point widespread flooding inside of buildings and homes. But if you have experienced flooding in your home or business, please report that to 311 as well. We definitely want to know about homes that have flooded. Another thing that we ask folks to do in the coming days, again, once the water has receded, is to go out and check the storm drains in front of your homes and clear the leaves and debris from those storm drains. This event has carried a lot of debris into our creek systems and storm drain systems, and we need your help clearing those out for the next event. Lastly, the county stormwater program has bought over the past 20 years about 450 homes and businesses. And almost all of these areas where we have bought homes and businesses have flooded to some extent in this event, which just shows some of the work that we've done to avoid a lot of the dramatic losses. The water should be receding here in the next few hours and probably has in some locations, and hopefully by this evening, all the creeks will be down to their fairly normal level. Thank you.
All right, thank you to everyone. Corey, at this time, we'll be ready for any questions.
Okay, super. We got a couple reporters on the line. What we'll ask you to do, if you know who specifically your question is for, go ahead and state that at the beginning so the person can get seated in the chair. And our first question will go to Allison Kuznets.
Hey, from Stormwater, can you talk about the buildings that you do know of, how many buildings have been damaged and what you would estimate the cost of that damage to be as far as you know right now?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a little too early to tell. I don't think that it's very many at all. We have not gotten any confirmed buildings that have flooded, but my staff and our stormwater crews are going to continue to monitor that going forward.
Brett Jensen.
This is for Chief Graham. Chief, I remember last year having to cover that situation down at Riverside Drive, and because a lot of the water was coming from Catawba County. Do you guys have an ETA on when you expect that to peak down there?
Hey, good afternoon, Brett. So we're working with Duke Energy closely, and one of the things we look at are how many gates they have open upstream, but we also use the Duke Energy Lakeview. Specifically, it measures it's a little complicated because they'll say, you know, they're at 103 feet, but it's not really feet. And it's not purely percentage either. So we look all the way up to Lake Hickory and get an understanding of where those lakes are as they move down through the Catawba chain. And then one of the things that's also important is the condition of Lake Wiley and how much water it can hold. So we have my staff, we're communicating with Duke Energy, I would say probably every 20 minutes to get information that they have, because they have their own hydrologists, and then they also have their own meteorologists. The National Weather Service, I agree with Spartanburg, is similar. They have their own hydrologists and meteorologists. So we get all that information together to give us a good view. We have estimations. It's not an exact science. We have estimations. If this happens, then we can expect this other thing to happen. But we do have a command post set up down there through the fire department and emergency management, along with operations personnel that are working closely. One thing about Riverside Drive is that the folks down there know who we are. We spent 5 weeks there following the flooding in 2019. And so we work very closely with that area. They also got an additional alert this morning, which was the IPAWS alert, which is the non-opt-in portion of it. So they got information that was pushed directly to all cell phones that were on.
Our next question will go to Emma Way.
Hey, thank you. This is a question for fire. Among the rescues today, was anyone injured or needed to receive medical attention?
Thank you for that question. Do not believe that anyone was injured or anyone was actually transported from those locations where people were rescued or evacuated.
Brett Jensen.
Let me ask the fire chief there a question. In terms of those people that were rescued from the charter school, how close were they to being in imminent danger? I mean, was it something that had to happen immediately, or would they have been okay for a while?
I think when, and I have not had a chance to talk to the incident commander, I believe the decision to evacuate the school was proper. As water continues to rise, you just don't know what the rate of rise will be. And I think that was the most prudent decision, was to remove the staff and the students at that point in time. I believe you do have some video from that area, or at least some photos from that area, to show you exactly how significant the flooding was. And when you have an opportunity to safely evacuate, that is the time to do it, and not necessarily waiting for boats and other forms of evacuation that can be a little bit more treacherous.
Allison.
Could you talk a little bit more about any closures on I-85? What is the status of Little Rock Road? Has that reopened?
I am not aware of that at this point in time. We can get that information to you.
Emma.
Hey, this is probably a question for CMPT, but possibly fire. I know a lot of officers were helping to block traffic. So I was just wondering of the staff capacity, how many staff remain, and can you update us on that?
Thank you. As you know, as a matter of practice, we don't release staffing levels, but I can tell you where we are adequately staffed. That's something that we watch very carefully. We do have, during events like this, some surge capacity from folks that we have working off the street doing different assignments that we're able to push and surge towards events like this. We plan for that strategically. So we're able to do that today. And then once we see that when we bring another shift on, if we need to hold one shift over for the overlap for a specific division or area or for the whole jurisdiction, we do so. So right now, we feel good about our staffing, and we continue to monitor the situation as it unfolds.
Brett.
Stormwater. I'm just curious, of all the homes that you're talking about that you guys have bought over the last several years, of around 400, are there more that you're looking into buying because of flooding, maybe again like some of those on Riverside Drive?
Yes, we are. So our stormwater utility has an ongoing effort at removing buildings voluntarily from the floodplain. And we continue to actually have hundreds of buildings at risk of flooding. And so that is something we work on actually every single year as we go along, and we'll continue to evaluate and do. And some of the results when we actually dig down after this event and the water recedes, we will see probably some other homes that flooded and look at working with those property owners. So it's important that they call 311 and let us know, in addition to the investigative work that our staff are doing.
Allison?
Oh, I'm set. I think I'm up.
Emma?
A question for stormwater, I think. First, would you mind repeating your name and spelling it for me? Also, does construction play a role in Charlotte in the flooding, potentially like the increase in construction recently?
Yeah, my name is Tim Troutman, Trautman, and I'm a program manager with Stormwater Services. And we also help and manage and monitor the creek levels throughout the system. So we're here as part of the EOC team. Certainly development and other changes in Charlotte affect the amount of runoff. A lot of the new construction, if not all the new construction, is required to have detention features that should be all chocked full of water currently. If you drive around and see new construction, they should have detention ponds that are probably very full right now and will continue to let water out at a slower rate. Some of the systems are underground. So I don't want to say that new construction has no impact on development, but there are development procedures in place to help control that increased runoff.
Brett Jensen?
Chief, I wasn't earlier trying to imply that you going to rescue them wasn't the proper thing to do. I was just curious if they were actually in danger at the time when you got there. But I am curious, has that school flooded before, anywhere close to that degree? Has anything like that happened there before?
We have several locations that are known to flood in the city. I'm not sure that that is one of those locations. I'd have to go back and do a little search as to find out if that is a normal location or one that we would see on a more routine basis.
Okay, well, we are out of questions. We appreciate everyone over at Emergency Management for participating in today's briefing, along with our reporters. We hope you all stay safe and have a good rest of your day. Thank you, everybody.